are going to be discussing a topic that like I feel like is important because I feel like a lot of people find themselves in this state in their reading journey eventually, and that is what to do when you are in a reading slump. Now, nobody likes to be in a reading slump. A reading slump is something that is, I would describe it like you're sick. Like that's literally how it feels because you don't have the creativity or like the momentum to get yourself to read the things that you want to read. And like normally reading is your happy place. Normally with reading, like you feel connected to it, but it's a lot like being sick, kind of like when you have a cold and you can't eat as much or you can't go outside, and you know what I'm saying, like you kind of have to rest. I feel like with a reading slump, it's always a sign that you need to rest because maybe you're burned out. I'm personally in a reading slump right now because even though I'm not at the level of being like on this app where I can call myself an influencer, I still have felt since I started this channel in February this kind of like underlying pressure to read as many books as possible, and I think that has gotten me in a slump. And no one should ever feel like that, and obviously I don't think that just because you're someone who's on this app, like a book influencer, that you should read as many books as possible. Like you should read what makes you comfortable, and I should have followed my own advice, but I didn't. So we're going to get into the video talking about the tips that I've done in the past to help me with my slump personally. And this is for me, this is for you, this is for anyone who feels like they're in a slump. I just want to give you hope that your slump will go away. It will go away. So let's get into it. The first thing I really want to talk about is how long do slumps typically last for? So a lot of readers commonly would have a slump last for a month or two, but it can last shorter or longer than that. I just think typically like 2 to 3 months is like kind of the minimum time, if that makes any sense. Or no, not the minimum time. It's kind of like the average time, I guess you could say. It could also, your slump could last for a week, which, if you're lucky enough to have a slump last for a week, that's good for you. Or it could last longer than a week and even longer than a couple of months. I've actually had a slump last for me very recently. 2 years ago, my slump lasted for an entire 2 years. Did I still read during that time? Yes, but I didn't actually get out of a slump till like the beginning of this year, and now I'm in a slump again, so kind of eating my own words, but I was like genuinely able to get out of it. It's just, now that I'm back in it, I kind of feel like I have to like reevaluate how did I get back into it in the first place. And I guess like I really want to talk about this because if you're someone who's also experienced a slump where it's lasted longer than a year, like I promise you it's gonna go away. It's just a season in your life and it's just a period. I know it feels like, oh, like maybe I have lost my love for reading, but like, which could be true. I mean, I think that definitely is a possibility, but I feel like in the times that I've thought that, like in the times that I've thought maybe I'm just not a reader anymore, it ended up not being true. And I just really wanted to talk about that because I just feel like we don't talk about that enough in the book community, and I don't want people to get discouraged. So if you're like me where you've had a slump last for longer than a year, you will be okay and you will get through it. Right, really the first tip I want to give is to read books that you already have loved in the past. So you're gonna be doing some rereads. So for me personally, books like that would be like Six of Crows, Caraval, A Winter's Promise. I'm trying to think of other really good books that have gotten me out of slumps in the past. Oh, The Hunger Games, like just books like that. Like they really help me when I am in such a horrible slump. And I think if you reread old favorites, like it you are re-entering a world of reading, but also you're revisiting the reason why you love to read in the first place, because favorite books are the reason why we love to read, you know? Like, you know, when you pick up a good book and you're like, wow, this is why I love to read, this is why I'm a reader. That's why I recommend rereading favorite books, because it will kind of be like a good reminder to you that, yes, I am still a reader and I do still like books. I just need to find other books that are like this. And there's no shame in rereading a book. Like, I think a lot of people feel this pressure to meet their end of year reading goal, and they feel like if they reread books because they're in a slump, like that doesn't count for their end of year reading goal. I'm here to tell you that it does count. Even if like all year you've only reread favorites, it still counts because you still read, didn't you? I mean, maybe it's not new books, but you still read. So I just had to let you guys know that it still counts, and I just think this has been something that has really, really helped me in the past, is just rereading old favorites. The next one I want to talk about is reading like lighthearted and fast-paced reads. So what do I mean by this? Well, usually something like romance I feel like is really good for a reading slump, because romance is one of those genres where it's not very heavy. You don't have to think a lot for it. It's kind of like lighthearted, and I mean, obviously there's different subgenres of romance, but I'm thinking of something like Lynn Painter, like Better Than the Movies. Actually, now that I think about it, Fake Skating really got me out of my reading slump, and I feel like that book was the definition of kind of like cutesy romance, cutesy sport romance, and I just feel like books like that, like something about cutesy romances, I don't know why, but they can really, really help with a slump. I just think they, I don't know, I think that they have this, like, this sort of like lightheartedness to them that just can really help you. Another thing is, I said fast-paced books, so things like thrillers, like a really interesting thriller, like something that's going to literally keep you on the edge of your seat, something that's going to make you like feel like you're there and make you sweat and make you just be like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen next, with like all the plot twists. Because I think any book that has a ton of plot twists and is really thrilling and really gripping is obviously going to help you in a book slump, because you are going to want to continue reading the book if, you know, you're constantly ending on a cliffhanger. The next one I want to talk about is like a really good fantasy. And I don't mean like, this is no offense to high fantasy. I love high fantasy, but I don't think high fantasy is particularly good for a reading slump, just because high fantasy is oftentimes really complicated. And oftentimes I feel like it's too long. And if you're in a reading slump, you need something that's short. Some really good fantasies I can think of are books like Caraval, A Winter's Promise, Heartless by Marissa Myers, and Lunar Chronicles. Like, just a good fantasy book with great characters that has enough plot twists and a good storyline. I just think fantasy, when you're in a slump, if it's like a really fast-paced fantasy, is like such a good tip, at least for me personally. Like, fantasy has always been the book that's the genre that's gotten me out of a slump, and I don't know, it helps me. Another book is just read short books. Like, it doesn't really matter what type of short books you could read. Like, I don't know, like a short poetry book, a short classic, a short fantasy book. Just read little books that are like 100-page something long. A really good book for this I can think of is like The Little Prince, which is my favorite book of all time, and also is my namesake for this channel, because The Little Prince, the Page Princess. And that book is only, I think it's only like 100 something pages. Like, it's very short. You can finish it within an hour. And I think just little books like that, they kind of give you baby steps towards your reading goal. And I think it will like make you feel less stressed about your reading goal, because you're like, oh, like I can read little books. Another really good tip is read mangas and comics. I love mangas and comics. One of my favorite ones is either Snow White with Red Hair or Yana of the Dawn. Those are both kind of romance mangas, but they are so cute. And I just think like reading mangas is such a helpful tip because it's mostly pictures and it's pictures with words. And I just think it's so fast paced that you're going to want to read more, and it will really help you in a reading slump. And to all the people who say that mangas and comics don't count as reading, do not listen to them because they 1000% count, okay? 1000%. And another one I want to suggest is listen to primarily audiobooks. Well, it is good to read physical books. I think audiobooks, especially if they have a big cast of characters, are what help you get engaged into reading, and I think that will help you want to read more in the future, if that makes any sense. For this next section, I really want to talk about movies and TV shows. Honestly, rewatch an old favorite. I am a personal fan of K-dramas. I don't know what it is, but I love watching K-dramas, specifically like any sort of romance K-drama. I am watching it right now. I'm rewatching one called Bon Appetit, Your Majesty, and it is just so cute, and I think it literally makes me giggle and it makes me feel happy. And I think rewatching old comfort shows like that are just, they're really good for being in a book slump. Some old comfort shows of mine personally, other than K-dramas, are shows like Modern Family, The Middle, trying to think of other shows. Any Marvel TV show or movie really helps me when I'm in a slump. Any Ghibli movie really helps me. A movie specifically that I'm actually thinking of right now that I feel like will really help anyone in a book or a creative slump is Kiki's Delivery Service. Specifically because in Kiki's Delivery Service, there's a scene where she is talking about burnout, and she is talking to, like, Kiki, the main character, she's talking to this artist, and they're both talking about burnout. And the artist kind of says this really wise things where she's like, sometimes you just need to take a break from something and look at it from a different perspective and then go back to it, and then it will help you realize kind of how to get back to that thing you were working at creatively. And I think that is such good advice. And I think if you're in a slump right now of whatever kind, like obviously this video is specifically about book slumps, but if you're in a slump right now of whatever kind, like watch Kiki's Delivery Service, because I've always felt like that movie has helped me time and time again anytime I'm in any sort of slump. And it's such a good movie. I absolutely love it. Another thing I want to say is don't feel guilty if you end up watching more TV than reading books. The whole point of a reading slump is to not force yourself to read, but to have the enjoyment of reading again. So yeah, if you're in a reading slump and you end up watching more TV than reading books, you might not hit your end of your reading goal. And that's okay. At the end of the day, I think that reading is not a competition. And I think not to throw shade to anyone, but I think sometimes with the rise of things like Book Talk and Goodreads, we feel like reading is a competition when it's really not. It's just you going at your own personal pace, and you can read as much as you want and watch as much TV as you want to. Another thing I want to recommend is go to places like libraries and bookstores that will help you want to read more. I personally really like going to Barnes and Noble, and even if I'm not gonna buy a book there, which most of the time I do, I'll be honest, but even if I'm not gonna buy a book there, I like to just sit there and read my book that I've already bought, or bring my Kindle. And just something about the atmosphere of being around books and being around other people that are also reading really helps me read. I feel the same way reading at libraries, a used bookstore. Just go to places like that, and it will really help you want to read more. Thing I want to recommend is do a buddy read. Buddy reads help me so much. Because usually with buddy reads you're only reading like maybe 5 chapters a day, and I think that really helps condense reading into like short enough segments to where you don't feel as forced to read things very quickly, because you're reading it together, and also you have someone that can help you keep you accountable, and you're like, again, you're reading just in short segments every day. And I just think buddy reads they're just really good when you're in a reading slump. Right, well, those are all my tips. I know that this video was pretty short, but I really hope that this helps anyone who is in a bad slump right now. If you are in a slump, I'm sending my prayers to you, because I'm also in a slump, so this advice is as much to me as it is to you, because honestly, I might rewatch this video so that way I can remember all these tips. I just want to say you are a strong soldier, and like, you will get out of it. Like, a slump doesn't last forever. It's just a season of your life. Even if it feels like a very long season, you will be okay. It's gonna be okay. I believe in you, queen. Just the same way I believe in myself. We're in this boat together. We're in this reading slump together. And I just feel like I don't want anyone to ever feel like reading is a competition, and to ever feel like reading is miserable because it's turned into something where they feel forced to do it. Because at the end of the day, we read and write books because we want to escape from the world, because we want to tell a story, because we're as they say in the Dead Poet Society, filled with passion, because we're creating something beautiful. And I just don't think you should ever feel forced to do that. But yeah, remember to like and subscribe. Let me know down below in the comments what tips you have for a reading slump, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.